Check 1 2, check 1 2, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, check 1 2 3, check. Hello, welcome back to the stream. I am your illustrative host, Michael DiNicola. Here's my hand, just to show you I am in fact alive. This is where I doodle. This is the piece I've been working on. I've been working on this for some time now. It's a bit of a pain in the tuchus for me, only because coloring doesn't come natural to me, so I've been struggling with the colors thus far. This is where I've ended up. I'm still working on it. As always, I like to start the beginning of the show by thanking my patrons, my YouTube subscribers, my Twitch followers, and Twitch subscribers. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank members of the Discord. Thank you for being awesome. And to continue posting your memes, making me laugh all the time. Tonight is going to be a faceless stream, just me and you, just me, you, and my hands. Actually, let me turn the air conditioner on. My God, it is rough in here. Alexa, what is the humidity outside?
Right now, the humidity is 79%.
Jeez, man. It's like a swamp in here. So swampy. All right. So I have this idea for the background of this piece, but I know it's going to take me... It's going to take me a bit. And you know what? I just don't have the... I don't have the brain. I don't have the brain power for that. So instead, let's see if we can start the clock and get some doodling in. A little doodle doodle, a little doodle, cock-a-doodle doo. Okay. All right. Okay. I see what's going on. I see what's going on. All right. Yeah, let's start with a little layout. That's way too big. Okay, we're laying things out. There it is. There you are, brush. There you are, Peter. Okay. Okay. I have an idea, I have a concept. Let's see if we can pull it off. Let's see if we can pay it off. A little tip for anybody who's curious. I have this idea, but I want to block it off. Big shapes, big messy shapes right now. See where this takes me. See where this goes. Okay. All right. Interesting. You know, the funny thing, who knows where ideas come from? And then the other thing is, once you get the idea for the thing, who's to say where that idea comes from? And even better yet, do you have the wherewithal to piece it together in a cohesive manner? Basically what I'm saying is, are you not just creative enough, but are you competent enough in your craft to bring to fruition your imagination? You know, can you cohesively, confidently, beautifully put to paper the thoughts and imagination you have? All right, isn't that the struggle of every one of us, more or less? I know it is for me. That's something I deal with more often than I care to admit. You know, I get this idea in my head for something, and looks cool, sounds cool, it works in my brain, but then, you know, what you see in your mind's eye versus what transpires on the page is just night and day, friends. Night and day. Also, you know, I've been aware of the way I draw certain things, hands, faces, bodies. More often than not, they tend to, you get a lot of samesies happening. Oh, that kind of looks like that, kind of looks like that. And I think I need to start challenging myself, right? Maybe challenging myself isn't the right term, but maybe I should start diversifying. Hello, Eric Canetti. How goes it, friend? How goes your evening?
Good, good.
What's news?
What's going on over there?
You know, same old, same old. Doodle, doodle, doodle. Cock-a-doodle doo.
Are you on air?
Yes, I am, 100%. I'm on all of the platforms, as per usual. Little late night hangout.
Is this a new hour for you?
You know what? I'm digging the later time frame. It's comfy.
Yeah.
It's a little more my speed. How about over there? What how far off are you from bedtime?
About 1.5 to 2 hours. Been a longish day.
How's your day been? Long day? How was your Monday?
Yeah. Work. You know, Monday. Getting the week started always takes a little bit more effort, right? I don't know if you go through the same thing.
Yeah, man. Are you is your timeline full of the Supreme Court stuff also?
It can be. As soon as I see that it's there's like a level of tolerance that I have, obviously, right? For that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I immediately just start muting people.
Sure. I completely understand that.
I start muting the people that they're retweeting or whatever it is, right?
Right. You know, I don't follow anyone on social media, so basically what ends up happening is the algorithm starts showing me stuff. Because when you unfollow everyone, you get pure algorithm. Basically the bot is like, you like this? What about this?
The bot is like, well, we gotta show you something.
Yeah. You must look at something. We're gonna get you. So
Yeah.
like they're showing me like Euro soccer stuff. I've seen rugby, all kinds of sports stuff too. Like
That's kind of cool.
from like fishing to basketball. Like sports? You like sports?
Now you're talking about Instagram's algorithm.
No, I'm talking about Twitter specifically.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Twitter's the one that's kind of a shock because it's the platform I interact with the absolute least. So it's the the algorithm knows me the least over there.
Sure. You know what else you can do to throw that shit off is to change the region that you come from.
Oh, sure. I've thought about doing that with my VPN because I've got the VPN installed on my phone as well.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
To be like, well, it actually got me interested in what are the rules for cricket, you know?
I haven't the foggiest idea.
Yeah, I looked it up. I didn't retain any of it, but I looked it up.
Did you find it illuminating, Eric?
I found it to be, there's a reason why they play it for days.
Oh, I heard games go for 3 fucking days long.
Yeah, it's really, like, what game goes on for 3 days? You know, like a sport that requires a stick and a ball, you know? But, yeah, cricket apparently is that sport.
All right, weird, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've never watched
the full. Once you change the region, it kind of gives you the world, as far as the world is concerned, it gives you a different snapshot, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like what's trending in that part of the world, right?
Yeah. And we know what's been, at least news-wise, what's been trending on over here, at least over the weekend.
Well,
and
that's my point, right? Which is to say, the moment you change the region, yeah, less and less of that stuff shows up in your in your timeline because they're not worried about it.
Well, that depends, man. I've seen a lot of non-Americans chiming in with their 2 cents. You know, everybody listen, if you're if all your friends in whatever industry are talking about this thing, I understand the inclination to want to follow suit, educate yourself, and then of course throw your opinion and thing. Have you heard about Texas in 2023 is going to do another vote to secede from the union?
What do they?
Yeah.
What's the best case scenario for them?
It's just politicking and nonsense. There's no way they're going to do that. I mean, they've done it before, I think twice, and it didn't work out well for them not either times. I don't think, and again, dude, their national grid couldn't handle a little cold weather before completely shit the bed and they were asking for national aid. Yeah. It's just more, Ted Cruz level politicking. Ted Cruz made some grandstanding thing where like maybe Texas should take its oil and NASA and the military and go on their way.
Ted Cruz is in Texas?
Yeah. He's a Texas representative. But then not realizing that, those are the United States. Those are United States military bases, and NASA isn't a Texas institution. It's a national institution. They don't own NASA. And as for their oil, well, we've invaded countries for less. Nonsense. Lots
and lots of silliness out there. But again, I actively curate out of my timeline.
Oh, that's smart.
I'll see it once in a great while, and I'll see who retweeted it, and I'll be like, is your art really worth following, you know?
Right.
Sometimes that's how they get me, you know? It's like, oh man, this art, I don't know them, but their art's really good, or it's a refreshing take on something. Like, I don't often follow somebody like that, but it's different enough, makes me, you know what I mean? Like, take a chance on it or whatever.
I love a refreshing take.
And they start retweeting garbage, you know?
Oh, yep. I love a refreshing art take. Don't love retweeting of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
I don't like staying as far as like you and I have our particular sort of like favorites as far as art is concerned, right? So I like seeing that or different people with maybe similar, not identical, but like a similar feel to them, you know?
Sure.
A Sean Gordon Murphy isn't too far away from. Who is the guy that did that kaiju comic book? Shoot, it's really awesome. Really
Daniel
awesome.
Warren Johnson? No.
No, no,
No,
but I
no.
mean, okay, so that's in the same vein, kind of.
He's in the same vein
And,
as James Herron. Those two are like two peas in a
James
pod.
Herron is the guy who did the what do you call it, the kaiju book.
All right, yeah. So you're right. Yeah, no, those you got the trifecta of Japanese influenced American comic book artists. That's
The
a
feel,
genre.
right?
Yeah.
So when I see other people doing that, I'm all like, hey, that's kind of cool. I'll follow them. But I think more often than not these days, I really try to look outside of that, right? I try to like, oh, that's the kind of manga anime look that is not the typical, but it's really by way of craft really good. So I'll follow that.
Yes.
So, but once in a great while, I'll take a chance on somebody, and next thing you know, we're talking about whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta.
Some hyperpolarized political hot take.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely things that people are not following you for.
Right.
Know? Or at the very least, I wouldn't think that was their initial inclination to follow you. But it's their Twitter timeline. It's their Twitter account. They can do whatever the heck they want, in as much as I can do whatever I want, and I just unfollow very quickly.
Yes. You know what, man? I feel like I talk about stuff freely here, and I'm not afraid to shy. I'm not afraid to talk about my opinion here, or I don't shy away from it when we discuss things here. Hello, Abby.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from this place, I do not feel that me tossing my unsolicited opinion in the ring of endless unsolicited opinions on the internet.
That's it.
Helps
I
anything.
really believe that's it. Like, what are you bringing to the table? That's so freaking profound and unique. That hasn't been said over and over again. As a matter of fact, you're just as unique as the last thing that you retweeted. Like, you're not really doing anything. You're effectively just, shouting into a fucking dark hole. It's Twitter. What do you like? What sort of activism is that? What sort of difference are you making on that platform, except to just air out your grievances to however many thousands of followers that you have who effectively are in the same echo chamber as you? Like, what are you guys going to do, right? How effective is that?
Yeah, where's this going?
I always think like, you and I cracked up about this. If you are putting something up on Twitter that at the beginning you can put either Dear Diary or, say the name of your therapist, then don't put it up on the Twitter, As a general rule, right? If you put Dear Diary, don't put it up on Twitter.
I think that's 100%. That's an excellent rule to follow. A great rule of thumb to follow on social media platform posting.
And again, I'm like, I don't know why you know how they say that Twitter is the town square, right? That's one of its sort of the thing that people were referring to it as, and it's like, I don't know if that's true, because I can't imagine going in the middle to like New York, in the middle of Times Square and being like, blah 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 is stupid, like the latest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier is dumb,
Yeah. I wonder. You ever see the TV show Parks and Rec?
Mm-hmm.
They do their town hall is very similar, where those lunatics from the audience, just average citizens, just get up and shout the most ridiculous, nonsensical questions at their elected officials. That is Twitter. That is.
Again, to be fair, it's their Twitter space. They have people who are following them, and all power to them. But in as far as me, sort of like sticking around to see what you have to say after you open your mouth about stuff I don't care about, then yeah. I mean, I catch myself doing it once in a great while, but I'm very deliberate. Like, for instance, there's this guy, and this happened last week. The last thing people were outraged by. I wasn't outraged by the thing that people were getting upset by, which is a writer who is half Jewish, half Cuban.
Oh boy, I know where you're going.
I'm not exactly
yes.
sure.
Yes.
And so he writes a Thor issue by which Miles Morales plays the role of Thor. It's kind of like a what if story.
Half Jewish, half Mexican.
Marvel there you go. And Marvel is really pushing Miles Morales for whatever reason. They don't think that he can, like, he has his own Spider-Man book. Why do you need to make him fucking Thor? That doesn't make
He's Thor.
Make sense.
He's
a
Captain
great
America.
Spider-Man. He's amazing. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he won an Academy Award. Like, what do you need?
Yeah.
You know, what do you need him to be Thor and Captain America for? Anyway, lacking in any originality, lacking in any sort of backbone, they start to make these what if stories about it. And this particular writer, again, I don't know them by name, but apparently he wrote some really eye-rolling stuff. And depending on which circles you sort of run into, they leverage things. They lob things like, oh, this guy's a racist, and this guy's just so like blah blah. You know what I mean? Like just all the stupid things.
Right.
To me, I read it, or some of those panels, not all of it, but I read some of the panels like, this is just eye-rollingly poor. This is like a, you know, that really cheaply produced MC Hammer cartoon from like the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, you know?
Right.
We had like magical dancing shoes, and then every time he put it on, he'd turn into Hammer, you know? And
Oh my god, I forgot
like
about
anyway.
that. Yeah.
It's just like awful, cringy, eye-rolling stuff, right? And
Oh yeah.
so he goes out there and he gets roasted by Twitter, because that's what Twitter does, right? It's built for that.
Yes.
The part that really made me upset is that he, you know, whatever, he bent the knee, he went on an apology tour and started saying, hey, I should listen better and blah 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 blah. And it dawned on me, like, this guy didn't go into Marvel with a gun
No.
and threaten everyone there and say like, hey, unless you give me a what if story by which I can write shitty concepts.
Right. Oh yeah, I know
Like,
exactly where you're
it's
going
Hammer
with this.
time and refer to Asgard as the hood, right? Like, he didn't do that, right?
No, he did
Marvel
not.
reached out to him and said, hey, we have this idea for you.
That's right.
Why don't you write this story? Give us your take on it, blah, blah. And he turns in the script. Marvel goes and approves it.
Oh yeah. Editors, whomever else. Took a
I
look.
would say, if not the assistant editors, then definitely like the series editor, if not the group editor, and then ultimately like the editor in chief, right? They signed off on that shit.
Yes. It got
And
kicked
this
up.
guy is this guy's getting kicked in the nuts and the gut for being a poor writer. I'm not defending the writing. I saw it and I was like, this is really dumb. But ultimately, I vote with my money. It's the idea that when any creative, not just, and it's not exclusive to this guy, when any creative goes out there and just gets blasted, 0% of the editors take accountability.
No.
0%.
Yeah.
Nobody comes and says like, yo, that's actually on us. That was our premise. We gave them that. And as a matter of fact, if there's any sort of cringy scenes in there, we approved it. You know, that's totally like, put it on us, you know?
Yes.
And I was reflecting the past couple of days. I think a part of it is because, you know, in a situation where even though you're working for a globally recognized IP from a comics editorial standpoint, they're not paying you more than like $20 and a couple of Burger King coupons per year, right? You don't want to have any negative undue attention, you know, focused in on you, because you have way too many of those, and eventually the right people start paying attention, going like, hey, this guy's a fuck up, you know? And you know, just an invitation for your term, for like a pink slip, you know? And so, but anyway, my point is that none of them ever take the step forward and protect their creatives. Nobody ever says, hey, I'm the person that reached out to that guy. I'm the person who gave them the premise. I'm the person who read through the scripts. I'm the person who approved it and ultimately like hit the send button to the printers. You know, I'm the one who proofread it and blah, 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 right?
Yes.
Like, none of that ever happened. They made this guy, you know, they gave him a job, and then when things went poor, they cut him loose in the middle of the ocean and said, all right, well, we're moving on to the next one. See you later, you know?
Yeah. Enjoy
Not
dealing with
leadership.
this shitstorm.
Yeah, good luck with that. I hope you don't get cut up too much. But anyway, we're moving on to this next other thing.
Yeah.
My wife, on the other hand, rebuttal to my idea, and she's like, maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's because Marvel is so desperate right now that any attention is good attention for them.
Oh, I see. So just the fact that people were talking about the book, even though the book was rife with very, honestly, man, listen, it wasn't like he was eating fried chicken and watermelon, right? It didn't get that bad of a parody. However, that said, it did lean heavily on urban black stereotypes for Miles Morales, which is, at the very least, I mean, at the worst, it's racially insensitive. At the least, it's just in poor taste and just it's ill-conceived.
Yeah.
So the fact that none of the higher-ups, aside from the writer, took any blame for this, as if
You're-
they were working at some indie self-publishing
yeah,
place.
yeah. It's as if the editorial staff, the writer pulled like some weird veto card. He turned in the script, and the editorial's like, we can't let this go out. And he's like,
Right.
I pulled this particular, Digimon card or whatever the fuck that trumps everything else that you guys are saying. And they're like, all right. And then it bombs. And they're like, see, we told you so, It's
Yeah.
like, none of that happened, right? That's freaking fantasy. So the fact that these people don't have the backbone, just whatever. Anyway, my wife was saying, like, maybe it's just because, whatever, good attention is, or any attention is good attention. I'm like, what an awful pessimistic position to take. Oh, at least somebody's talking about it,
Yeah. No, they're saying horrible things about us and our comic.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you, Eric. This is the first time in a very long time I had thought about hitting the old dusty trail, getting out into the streets, and visiting my local comic book shops. I have not visited my local comic book shop in over a year, and I've gone, and that, a handful of years ago, maybe more than a handful of years ago, 5-6 years ago, I had an active pull list at a comic book shop, and at the very least, I was visiting once a week, once every couple weeks, just to stop in, say hi, see what was being released. Those days are long gone. Haven't been in a comic book shop in over a year. I have no interest in going to a comic book shop. You know what? I will. You know what? Let me amend that statement. Me and my friend Ryan Cruz went to the mall last weekend. We did go into a comic book store. However, to call this store, they call it a comic book store. But if you had called it a comic book store in the 1990s, people would have laughed in your face, because it was 10% comics, 90%, 10% comics, 20% manga, and 70% every other fucking nerd thing under the sun. From records, like vinyl, to t-shirts, to plastic paraphernalia, to like cuddly things, toys, Funko Pops, everything, Legos, anything that is slightly nerd related was in that quote unquote comic book store. But that was, I basically walked the comic book, they put the comic books, Eric, the very back, like dimly lit corner of the store.
There you go.
And empty. That's the thing. They had some new releases. They had 2 of those kind of like news stand shelves. You know what I'm talking about? Like where it's the front facing, where you could kind of flip through, like a magazine rack. They had 2 of those. One was almost half of it was completely bare, nothing on them whatsoever, and the other one was full of new releases, untouched. And right next to them was all the clearance stuff, all the plastic clearance shit that they couldn't get rid of. So like the discount Funko Pops, the toys that are like kind of busted and were like, the boxes were fucked up in shipping and returns. That's where the comic books were in the store. You had to search for them. Anyway, all that said, I was very inclined after this Marvel fuck up to go out and see if I couldn't buy that Miles Morales issue of Thor, just because it was so, like I said, leaning on stereotypes and racial insensitivity. I wanted to pick it up for posterity. Sure. Miles Morales holding up Thor's Mjolnir that's covered in graffiti and saying, by Odin's fade, something, something, something. Just so preposterous, so outlandish that
it is preposterous.
Something like that was made.
It takes a little bit more. I understand that it's insensitive. I personally didn't find it to be all that racist, but it takes a little bit more than somebody acting like a complete idiot, or
I think calling
like
it
a really poor script.
Yeah,
right?
I think calling it racist is a stretch. Again, racially stereotypical, portraying black people in a 2-dimensional light.
Yes. Just bad writing.
Yeah, bad writing is what it is. But yeah,
So anyway,
I almost went out and bought it. I really wanted to.
Out of curiosity, out of like morbid curiosity. Okay, so my point with that is that, all of that to say that that's as far as my quote unquote Twitter activism goes. Is I got annoyed because, like, these guys aren't, poor as it may be, they are still your sort of like people, right? You still should take care of the people that you reach out to. And again, ultimately, it pisses me off when they want to talk all sorts of shit. And by they, I mean like certain members of the editorial staff. They all talk like their shit doesn't stink, and when it comes time to like prove that they're more than just, you know, a fucking parrot, you know, they never move towards anything that resembles a backbone or character. And this is one of those opportunities, right? The example that I gave, and I still think about this whenever I think of people who at any like, I will work for them any day of the week. They're like, oh, Eric, we don't necessarily have any money to get, like, no, don't worry about money. I'll work for you, you know? Is a fellow by the name of Stephen Wacker and his assistant, then assistant Tom Brennan, right? And this was a long time ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. I had done a fill-in issue of Spider-Man that Joe Kelly wrote. Scotty Young did the cover, and it was a Deadpool and Spider-Man just kind of bopping around town, cracking jokes at each other. And I really loved drawing because I remember getting the assignment from Stephen Wacker. I fully understood it was just fill-in. And at that point, I think they were doing super realistic looking kind of Spider-Man. We're talking Spider-Man from the movies / Tobey Maguire.
Oh,
I
right.
think.
No, that's
so there was a look to Spider-Man. Yeah, so there's like a look to Spider-Man that was really sort of the thing to follow back in the day, right? So maybe Mark Bagley, maybe John Romita Jr., that kind of a thing. You know, the seams on the outfit had like a relief to them. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like a decal, right? So anyway,
right.
There was that look for a long time, right? So I turned in my very first set of pages, and what I grew up on was Todd McFarlane. Right?
Sure.
So when I got that assignment, I was just like, I want to draw the stuff that I saw, which is like Todd McFarlane, big eyes, you know, just wacky anatomy, because that wasn't the point. The point was to make it as action-packed as possible, blah, 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 right?
Yes.
So that's what I did. And when I saw that, when my editor saw it, I think he understood where I was going for. And it's like, well, no, keep doing this, you know? And I was like, oh, yeah, you like that? I'm gonna just triple down, quadruple down on that look. So that's the look that I was going for. And when it got released, the fans really reacted unfavorably to it, right? There's like message boards after message boards. And at the time, I was in Italy. I was in Rome when my friend was messaging me saying like, "Yo, I think you fucking broke the internet and the message boards with this thing," you know. And so I was like, "Oh man, what do I care? I'm on vacation." But the point is, to his credit, my editor was in all of those message board threads, and it wasn't exclusive to just like Marvels. He was all over the place. Now, you know, arguably the internet was a whole lot smaller back then, right? Mm-hmm. But on the message boards that mattered, right, the comic book centric ones, Stephen Wacker and I think Tom Brennan, I'm not exactly sure, but definitely Stephen Wacker was there sitting like, no, that's my call. I love Eric's work. I'm into it. I want, you know, it may not suit your taste, but Spider-Man should be open for a lot of different interpretations, and his is one of them, and we really appreciate working with him. Wow. I remember that. I wish I had taken screenshots of it, but I do remember him, you know, putting up for me. And Excellent. You don't know the level of like pride and loyalty that happens when you're getting roasted on the internet, right? In any public space, and your editor is like, "No, yeah, that's my call," you know. And not only is it my call, but I support it, right?
Right. Because
there were comments in those message threads or in those message boards saying like, "Oh, it's the most awful issue." And you can still look it up now. In that Spider-Man issue, it will pop up, right? One of them I distinctly recall going like, well, with the last name like Canetti, maybe he's foreign and he doesn't understand English very well. Who
Jesus
knows? You know?
Christ.
Yeah, it was sort of severe, but also laughable because it was the internet, you know?
Right.
What I want to help underline my point, which is Stephen Wacker never backed down from a difficult conversation with the fan base, right? And that to me makes me want to come and work for you. You're like, oh, dude, we can only pay you peanuts. I'm like, I don't care. I'll draw it. These dummies, you know, as much talking as they do, as much sort of like, oh, we represent sort of like this progressive value. We represent like, we'll do whatever the heck we want. We want to transform this logo, this title, this series, these characters. We want to give them more of a dimension, and we'll do everything that we can, anything that we want in order to facilitate that. When there's any level of heat, they're just like, we're not going to say anything. And if that's a personal policy, right, from that editor or from that group of editors, they're all fucking cowards.
Cowards.
Right? But if that's a company policy to not say anything, fuck that place. Fuck that place with a pole.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, man, they let that artist, not the artist, the writer. They hung that motherfucker out to dry. They just threw his ass under the bus, and they were fine with that.
Holy cool. So again, that I have to ask myself, like, I wonder what it is. I wonder why they don't say anything.
I will sub next week. Next week.
Hey,
you're too poor to afford.
Who's that? Vitamins.
Today.
Thank you so much for the 26-month resub. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Kennedy, finish your point.
If it's a personal call, I'm like, you feckless, toothless, spineless piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
But then I thought, like, oh, what if it's a company policy?
Right. This comes down from on high.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, how gross is that? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Let him hang.
No,
like,
as in like general. Hey, you don't support any of these, any of our creators once they start getting this kind of heat.
Right. Yeah. Let them all rot.
Bullshit. Why would you want to work for that company?
I honestly... No, you're absolutely right. Listen, man. There was once prestige to it growing up. You know, I grew up a little later than yourself, but comics are still growing strong. When I was a young lad in the 90s. And then there was something to picking up those Jim Lee issues of X-Men as a kiddo, and there was something, man. You know, this was it. You know, if you could get good enough to draw and hang out with these guys, you were something special. Those days are long gone.
It sure feels like it.
Those days are long gone. The guy, like we talk about some of our favorite modern big two artists, like Pepe Larraz, Jorge Jimenez. Listen, there's some older school guys who are still crushing it, right? Still destroying it. But
the point that you're trying to make is that, like, not even just the era of the things that really kind of blew our skirts up, right? But we're now talking about just, professionalism, right?
Yeah.
Like, is professionalism not a thing anymore, No,
you're right. I mean, it seems like the two, they're not mutually exclusive. The capability, in tandem with the professionalism has seemed to have gone out the window.
Just feels.
Say that again?
It just feels like it. It feels like there's something there that I'm like, why is this not being HR'd into you?
Right.
Human race. Why isn't it part of your culture that these are the things that you do, not the least of which protect your talent, not the least of which represent your book well, not the least of which understand where, who keeps your lights turned on, That makes zero sense to me, but whatever. It's, as my friend says, it's like not my monkeys, not my circus, right?
Yeah.
The other one, and I saw this and it made me, again, on the subject of like advocating for and activism for, a lot of it breaks down to like the creators. That's what I really sort of like, man, that really feels gross when you do that to talent, right?
Yeah.
Mahmoud, right? A really great illustrator.
Sure.
Mahmoud Asrar. He's really good.
Really nice
and
guy too.
Oh my gosh.
I
mean, nice guy. I think that guy is like nice guy artist of the year 9 years running. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like
in his like
really
prime.
A really cool sweetheart.
Dude was working on like 2 books at a time and was going to cons and would make time to speak with dickheads like me. and then
me too.
remember me. I mean, like, Yeah, I mean, just like a sweetheart of sweethearts. But go on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I think a consummate professional, right?
Yes.
Understands, appreciates his fans, appreciates the sort of position that he's in, the unique, and I would think like really privileged position that he's in to be able to draw American comics. That drawing X-Men, drawing whatever it is that he's into. That's really awesome, and he understands and he appreciates. Clear in his conduct that he understands the position that he's in, and he conducts himself accordingly.
He is a Turkish man.
So he did this. I think so. Yeah, and he did this cover for the Punisher, right? Yeah. And I thought like, it's a strong cover. It's right down the middle, and I was like. And then he kind of advertised it. He put it on, not advertised, but like he put it on the, what do you call it? He put it on Twitter, and they put the logo on the cover. Now, he may be guilty of this, so take this with a grain of salt. But the image was so, on a vertical cover, right? The image was so big on that vertical cover that the logo had to sit behind him, behind the main figure of the Punisher, right?
Right.
And Mahmoud was like, "Oh, look, it looks so much more legitimate with the cover dress on it, right?" And I said, respectfully, that's trash. Like, respectfully, I don't know what Punisher because it covered a Punisher first of all,
right?
And second of all, it said War Journal, but it literally said War Journal because it covered up JO. Like the back end, the front end of the journal. And then, I was like Punisher War Journal, whatever, colon, the name of the run or whatever, right?
Right.
And that name of the run, it's something like Gambit or like Stealth or whatever. It looked like it was literally like just like tagged on.
Oh, God.
It was not a
just
well-designed
bad design
cover. Yeah, really, really poor design. Now, again, to Mahmoud could be at fault because of the fact that his image was so like big.
Right.
There's not that much room. But that's when you, as a
editor,
and again, I was like, who the fuck is the art design? Who's the art director over there? Who's the editor who said this is okay to do? This is okay to go.
Yeah, no,
right?
Because let's be honest, for those of you who don't know this little inside baseball, but you have editors for a reason. So this is from what I know of designing covers, is you send them generally your roughs, your thumbs, your layouts, and then the editor says, okay, well, you know what, this is great. This is ideally the editor would say, Mahmoud, this is an excellent concept. I love this one. However, your job as the editor, designer, the cover needs to go here. So you just got to tweak some things.
The logo needs to go here.
Yeah.
So bump them down because it's going to cover up the logo.
Exactly.
You want to have a little bit of room to play. You can cover it up. There's plenty of covers out there right now. As a matter of fact, they published a book that is called Marvel Covers. Have you ever seen that, Mike? I don't know the exact name. I just got it, and I want to get the name for it. It's like it highlights. It's a big hardcover book, maybe 300 pages thick.
Oh wow!
It just shows their covers through the ages, the ones that are really super notable.
Ooh, no,
like,
I don't know.
Motherfuckers, you literally have the playbook of what good looks like.
You have the blueprints,
and
right
you
here.
let this one go through the what do you call it?
Yeah, it got to the end. It hit the finish line, looking like that.
Yeah.
Awful.
Hold on, I want to find that image for you.
Please.
And I don't know if Mahmoud has since erased it. But when he put it up, I was like, again, respectfully, this is garbage. Here it is.
Yeah, no. Let's...
And send it to you via our Slug Gang chat. Like, look how all over. There's 1, 2, the Marvel logo. There's like a thing at the bottom left-hand corner. There's like the Marvel, issue number 1, and there's the creators on the. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please do something. What the fuck is WAP Ernal?
Man, dude, WAP Ernal, Blitz is cut off.
Yep. it looks like it's tagged on, right? Because they're doing like a marker. I don't know what that is, like a dry brush, because there's like
Right.
I can't tell what it is. There's a drip to it on the Z, you know. The B is like super illegible, you know. Like okay, I guess it's a B because it almost looks like Punisher Wap Ernal Bets with a Z.
Yeah. Butts. Oh my god, dude. BUTS. Butts.
UTZ, yeah, like
oh yeah, BUTZ. Sorry. BUTZ, because Z is cooler than S. Yeah.
Who the fuck designed this shit? And how do you let this go?
I read this as Durnal, with this dash here and this curve here behind the sword.
Yeah.
Punisher. Wap Durnal.
The point is, this is the number. So here's the other crime, right? This isn't number 17. Right. Like, when they did this for X-Men, right? Yeah. When somebody would break the X-Men logo and you're like, okay, that logo is pretty well established. It's playing around with like the idea that Cyclops' concussive blast is blasting through it, whatever, or if Wolverine was to scratch itself through it, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right? This is the number one issue. So you're effectively, this logo, this version of it has not been seen.
No. Right out of the gate, you're tripping over
right
your
out
feet.
of the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. You're starting the race hobbling yourself rather. Jeez. Jesus.
And it's like, and I'm looking at it just kind of astounded at its incompetence, but unsurprised. This is the same set of people who are like, yeah, no, we'll just, hang our creators out to dry and also get, put them in situations where the cover looks suboptimal, not doing them any sort of favors at all.
Well, because, you're right. Because a person's going to see this and say, I would say even a layman reader is going to see this and think, oh boy, this cover artist really missed the mark. This is really, again, because the visual elements, especially on a cover where there's no, the words of the design, you can't pin this on a writer. You're like, oh man, Mahmood is really off his game. I wouldn't say that because, I know better. I'd be like, who the fuck allowed this to happen? Who okayed this? Is obviously where artists, fellow artists, and at least people who know about comic art is where I think the general opinion. But to the average reader, I could see them thinking, oh, this sucks.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak for the average reader. What I do know is that looks like shit.
Yes.
Right? Like, that looks like garbage. It's not up to me. Like, if the average reader does see it and be like, yeah, no, it's totally legible to me. I don't know how. If this is the first time they're seeing the Punisher, Wap, or Ernal, but I don't know how it's legible to them. I know what it is because I know Punisher War Journal, right? But just on exercise alone, who saw this and said this was an okay thing to let go through? And to me, between this and like that writer getting left hung out to dry, this is like Marvel through and through. This is who your personnel is. These dummies.
Great.
And I hated to do it to Mom. He was pretty cheerful about it, And I'm like, dude, don't do that. Don't settle for this bullshit.
No, definitely don't.
But then I deferred to like, again, not my monkey, not my circus. I don't care.
Right.
Your shit.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's like, oh, this is a shame. This everybody deserves better. The artists, the readers, just the whole lot.
Just start over with that place, man. Just start over. And the thing is, I don't ever want to believe that I'm the smartest person in the room, because I'm not. Far from it. So many people, many other artists in the industry, online, on Twitter, saw that image and said 0%. Didn't say a single thing. Because I suspect each and every single one of them are careful about the, criticism that they lob, for fear of, like, in a contracting comic book industry, in a contracting economy, they're afraid that, oh man, if I say anything, I know that editor, I know that office, I may not get any more work. And I'm like, you're not gonna get any more work anyway, motherfucker. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. What work were you thinking about?
Yeah. There's just got to be, and that is when my activism isn't the right word, but that's when I go off on Twitter, when it's about that concept. You know, then there's clearly something is wrong being done to a creator, whether it be publishing or like whatever. Somebody's trying to gut it out on their own. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Annoying as fuck to me.
Well, different times.
It is. Then, like you said this before, man. It's like what that guy does doesn't make me shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I get annoyed for a version of it because I keep thinking it's the same Marvel that I grew up with. You know, to your point, like that Jim Lee era of like quality, execution, and professionalism, right?
Sure.
It's not that. I don't know if there's a version of it that's in that office that's still that, but not based on these two instances. There isn't.
They butchered your beautiful boy.
Yeah, maybe that's it too. It's like I know Mahmood, and I feel like, dude, they did you raw.
Bit of a sidestep here. Have you seen the newest episode of The Boys?
I have not watched any of The Boys from this season.
It's a real treat, friend.
Really? Okay.
It's one that I can safely recommend. I feel.
All right, listen. You know me. These days, I trend so much on cynicism, and I almost want to punch myself in the face. So, all right, but I'm gonna go watch it.
Yeah, no, this is one of the rare shows where even those I know who are naysayers have enjoyed this season.
Watching, well, I'm not really watching it. My wife is binging the heck out of Umbrella Academy. You know what's funny? I canceled my Netflix account, right?
Fair.
And so it started ticking down. Hey, you only have so many weeks left for your Netflix account. Are you sure you don't want to reactivate, or are you sure you don't want to, continue your membership? Whatever. No, I said to myself, I don't think there's anything in there that really warrants me maintaining that account any further than what I already have now. And just as the week rolled around, that it was like the last week, the last day, Umbrella Academy gets released. And, I'm such a freaking pushover, but she doesn't ask for much. But when she saw it, and then it says like, oh, this account has been deactivated or what have you, right? And when she saw it, she's like, oh, that sucks, our Netflix ran out. And she knew, I told her,
Yeah.
And I can kind of read between the lines, And I said, do you want me to go reactivate our Netflix account? Just so you can watch this and I can always deactivate it later? And she's like, no, that's okay. And it's the way that she said it, like, you're not being truthful.
Yeah.
You're not being genuine. And she said, well, I kind of want to watch it. So, lickety split, I did it. But yeah, I almost got out of that Netflix ecosystem. Almost. I almost got out.
Interesting. I'm curious about how they handled Elliot Page's transition. Did your wife, did she tell you how they do that in the show? Kennedy, you there? Check, check. Hello? Oh no, you guys, Eric is gone. He took off. He's no longer here. Well, I'll be right here when you get back. Yes, so, I have not watched the most recent season of Umbrella Academy. I did watch all the previous seasons. Haven't watched this season. I'm very curious about where it goes. And like I said, I am very curious as to how they handle Ellen to Elliot Page's transition in the TV series.
Hello. Sorry.
There you are. Welcome back.
Forgive me. What were you saying?
Oh no, I was asking if your wife told you how the TV show handled Elliot Page's transitioning.
Oh, I was actually watching it in one instance, and she later confirmed that was not the only time that they did it, right? Which is to say, like, they don't miss an opportunity to hammer you over the head.
Oh boy.
that they are no longer the previous version of themselves who was Vanya, and now he calls himself Victor, right? At every opportunity there's a new character that'll run into him and say like, so this is what you're doing now, right? Oh yeah, it's just who I am now. Like it's almost nonstop.
Oh my god.
I saw it done once and I thought like, oh, that's pretty dang elegant, you know? Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't think it should go unsaid as if like it was just like business as usual, right?
Sure.
But certainly there was like, oh, okay, I get that. That's pretty cool. In front of the rest of the Umbrella Academy, you know? They kind of like just shrugged it off. Oh, is that who you are now? Cool, you know? And that was it. That's the version that I saw. And then apparently my wife said that they did it more than a handful of times. She was like, oh, jeez, okay, I guess.
Yeah, they really need to just show you what's what.
Yeah.
I get it. It's uncharted territory.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a little more nuanced, but you know. I get it. What's up, Gurs? What's up, Abby? What's up, Vitamins? Hello.
Now, overall, based on what I've seen in the episodes that I watched, I was like, I remember this really captured my attention. And maybe to the point that I made, like weeks ago, I think I'm a little burned out on it.
On Umbrella Academy?
Not just Umbrella Academy, but just like that kind of flavor series. And that's why I didn't immediately, dive into The Boys. At least not with as much fervor as you. So
Sure.
I think I'm gonna take a break from this. I suspect that I'll gain an appreciation for it later on, but right now I think I'll just look at it as, more of the same thing.
I understand the inclination. But I don't think
this is in your blood, right? You like it. You like it a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
I think The Boys may be one of the best written TV shows in that genre.
Sure.
In recent times, hands down.
That's awesome. How is your Kenobi watch going on?
I liked it. I know it's a very very, very divisive series.
But you walked away liking it.
I walked away liking it overall, but knowing that it's heavily flawed. and like I said, polarizing, and I know it upset a lot of fans, especially fans that are very particular in regards to Star Wars continuity. Because, you know, let's be honest, the show messes with the original series.
Does it really?
Yeah, it changes contextually some of the characters. It kind of breaks some stuff. It breaks some stuff, basically, the show.
Does it really?
And yeah, it changes the characters, the nature of not the characters completely, but some of the things that happened in the original series now make a little less sense because of this show. They did their best.
That's unfortunate.
They did their best to try to skirt that line, but they didn't succeed as well as they could have. And this, it really, again, you know, Star Wars nerds are pretty passionate in regards to specifically to continuity and honoring legacy characters. So I'm honestly, when it comes to the Obi-Wan show, I'm pretty torn because
you too like that, you understand how much it breaks on
I do, but I'm lenient, man. I'm Mr. Leniency. I don't mind all that much. That, you know, I could kind of take it with a grain of salt. I could kind of, you know, I can kind of cut them some slack in regard. I'm not super strict, but at the same time, I can't ignore. I can't ignore some of the glaring plot holes in this show, and some of the writing in the show it's poor, and it's to the detriment of everyone involved. So at the end of the day, Eric, the show is better than mediocre, but it had the capability to be great. Hello, Tanko. No, my voice, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't know why my voice sounds like that. Yeah, this series had some pretty amazing potential for what it could have been. But the writing had to be pristine. The writing, in order for this show to successfully pull off the story that they were trying to tell, there needed to be some of the best writing in television, bar none. And they did not hit that goal. And the reason why the writing was going to be so excruciatingly hard to do is because every major character in that TV show, you know exactly where they came from, and you know exactly where they're going to be 10 years from now. So it completely limits you in regards to your writing, your storytelling. You really can't break these characters. You can't really put their lives in jeopardy, because when you do, the audience, there's no stakes. There's no danger.
Yes.
Because,
right.
You know, Vader can't find out about Luke. He can't find out about Leia. Leia can't find out about her parentage. Neither can Luke. There's a moment.
You just said fuck it, man. You know,
just killed Luke Skywalker, right?
Yeah, fuck it.
All the stuff that really makes your life easier as a writer, to make things compelling. So putting your characters in danger, having your character struggle. Obi-Wan, now what they did was they did something which is honestly pretty lame now. And it's something that we've seen done time and time again. They did it with Luke Skywalker already. They did it with Boba Fett. They did it with Obi-Wan now. They did it with Moon Knight. They take a character, they screw them up, they make them weak and feeble in some ways, and like I said, broken and inept in other ways. And then throughout the series, they allow them to regain their capabilities and power. And it's honestly, it's boring. It's old hat. It's played out. It's redundant. It's uninteresting. There's nothing compelling about it anymore. There's nothing new. We get it. Here's another yet again, here's another broken hero that needs to find find his hope again. you know? And honestly, quite frankly, and this is me saying this, I'm sick of it. I'm tired of seeing another character that we know have to learn to be the character that we know they are, that that we've seen them as. Like, we've seen Obi-Wan. We watched many movies of Obi-Wan being this amazing Jedi master. And now we start from essentially square one in the Obi-Wan series, and then throughout the series we have to watch him regain his Obi-Wan-ness. And it ends up being tedious. More than anything else. So yes, so there were many writing problems. They had to include more characters into the Star Wars mythos in order for them to circumvent the non-disruption of character arcs, i.e. Obi-Wan, Luke, Leia, Vader, even Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Aunt Beru. Those two also, you can't screw with them. By the way, spoiler alert for the Obi-Wan series, they have a Jedi, a Sith, a Sith essentially, Inquisitor attack Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru in the series. But we know they can't die. We know Luke can't see a lightsaber. We know Luke can't. So like the stakes are gone. It's about as dangerous and about as enthralling as when in a Marvel movie they say, "Oh no, such and such is going to destroy the world," and you can only sit there and think, "No, they fucking won't. Spider-Man is coming out next month," or this movie, or we know the world isn't going to end because this isn't an Avengers movie. So we know everything's going to be fine. So you have to find different fucking stakes. And what the writers in Star Wars Obi-Wan tried to attempt to do is introduce us to new characters, have us relate, and not necessarily relate, but have us be interested in these characters enough that we feel for them, because they can die and whatever else, and like the stakes for those secondary and tertiary characters are legit, hence the writing and introduction of the character of Reva. But they fail to make a competent, interesting character. Yet again, Disney Star Wars. So what ends up happening is this character just ends up like a parasitic leech sucking the life force and energy out of the Obi-Wan show. So rather than seeing more Hayden Christensen or Anakin, or even a more compelling character, you get this bland, one-note character, poorly written and executed storyline. So it's just a drain. I will say this: save several moments in the series that were really well written and compelling. So you get weird plot holes, you get poor characters, and then you get, wow, this was awesome, this was incredible, and then poor characters, and then characters who you're familiar with in the previous movies making decisions that are out of character. Why are they doing that? Oh, because it was written. Which is again another pet peeve, where you know who this character is because we've seen them act so often on film in so many movies now, actively acting outside of their characters' capabilities, outside of how they would normally behave, only because that is what the plot requires, which really sucks. And it really, what ends up happening is the good writing in the show, and even the, I would say, great writing in the show, is completely overshadowed by the piss poor writing of the show. So all the opportunity for it to be really compelling, really something else, it's just undercut by this shit.
Would not recommend is what I hear you saying.
Honestly, I would say what someone needs to do is just find the best moments of Obi-Wan cut them out and make like a 2-hour-long movie of it, if not less, maybe 90-minute movie. Oh, because
isn't that what it was meant for originally?
There we go. I think inadvertently, Eric, you have stumbled upon the heart of the issue. You know, woke stuff aside, blah 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 blah. I don't care about any of that. I didn't really get a lot of that. This was, and this is what this felt like, a hour-and-a-half movie, maybe 2-hour movie, an Obi-Wan movie, that they decided to stretch out into a 6-part miniseries. And you know what? The reason I have is because they're, like, some of the stuff that they do is truly remarkable. Some of the really excellent scenes in the TV show, they seem like they were written first and then they wrote backwards, essentially, the reason for characters to get into those situations, and they did it poorly. So like I said, you have Vader behaving like he's got bipolar disorder. Vader going from this enraged natural disaster of a entity to being completely incompetent and disinterested in the same scene. And it just leaves you scratching your head thinking, what? Why? And then you realize, oh, the why isn't because this comes from any kind of characterization compulsion, which is, you know, again, I'm not a writer, but characters need to have wants and needs that they're searching for and trying to, and like, this is what pushes Vader's needs versus Obi-Wan's needs. There is the conflict, and how they resolve that lie in their own interpersonalities, and etc. etc. Vader doesn't behave like himself, not due to any outside environmental thing or any internal turmoil or whatever. Vader doesn't act or behave like himself, again, moment to moment, because the writers made that so. Because the story needs to go elsewhere. Obi-Wan can't be here anymore, so Vader has to let him go. You know, that's, even though up until that point, Vader was myopic.
That can't be true.
And bloodthirsty. Wait, no, lay it on me here.
No, I'm saying that can't be true. That's the reason why they're like, oh, I can't be here anymore. So off you go. You know.
Yeah.
That seems poor.
No, that literally happens in a scene. We see in many episodes, Vader is blinded by his hatred and pursuit of Obi-Wan, who he's been relentlessly pursuing or attempting to find for a decade. And he finally gets a hold of him and starts tormenting him and batting him around and savoring Obi-Wan's pain and suffering.
Yeah.
What's up, Zero? You could ask away. So he's savoring this torment that he's inflicting on his master finally. And this is perfect. This is exactly what we've come to see. Vader was killing. He terrorized an entire town just to get to Obi-Wan. Again, all tracks. And then he lets Obi-Wan essentially walk away. Just get away. He doesn't... So this is the thing. A lot of the fans before the final episodes were released, most people were speculating, oh, you know, maybe he put a tracker on him, or maybe he, in the midst of his unleashing his fury upon his old master who scarred him, what's up, Steady? Perhaps he came to his senses and realized, you know what? Let Obi-Wan be bait. You know, let him be the rat that I follow to the rat's nest, and then I'll kill all of them. Because, you know, that would serve the greater will of the Emperor, which is to hunt out and snuff any rebels, any Jedi scum, any Force-sensitive or Force allies throughout the galaxy, right? This is what Vader's mission is from on high. This is what, you know, Emperor Palpatine wants Jedi dead. However, Vader lets him go, and then the episodes are released, and you realize that no, Vader just let him go. There was no other part to letting Obi-Wan go. He just lets it's just completely nonsensical. It just It doesn't make any sense because they didn't make it make sense. He just lets Obi-Wan essentially leave.
How are you? I mean, I haven't seen the series, but how are you in? How are you in the writers' room allowing that to happen?
It's completely fucking indefensible. And again, I'm Mr. Patience. I am Mr. Suspension of Disbelief. I'm willing to let a lot of stuff slide, but there is writing in this show that is just completely fucking incompetent, Eric. And the characters are Vader, Obi-Wan, they are written as if they're completely different people. And it's that reason in particular that many fans of the series are very upset. They cannot look past these errors. And I can't hold it against them. I will not go to the mat for this show. In many ways, it is very bad. But and again, I say it with a caveat being, save the handful of scenes that were written and executed beautifully, because it seems like those scenes were written for the movie that the series was meant to be.
Because it was, to the point I was trying to make was I heard that this was originally a feature film.
Yes.
And then they ramped it down to be part of Disney Plus, right? Because what bombed that made them go like, ooh, maybe we can do this?
The solo film, the literal, both literal and figurative solo film, the Han Solo film, it tanked. It lost Disney money. It performed horribly. They say people didn't like the recast. They say people had Star Wars fatigue. Whatever the reason.
Who's the recast? Who's the original Solo?
Well, because they didn't actually have they didn't de-age old what's his face Grumpy, old Mr. Grumpy Bear, Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford?
Yeah, Harrison Ford had nothing to do with the show. It was some actor, some handsome actor who was doing.
Are you saying there was one that was previously hired and then they recast him? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no. I mean, I'm saying recast in that this wasn't Harrison Ford. Like
it wasn't Harrison Ford. Okay.
Yeah. They cast some new young actor to do a Han Solo impression in the film, and fans didn't take that. So some people were speculating perhaps that is why the movie didn't do well and didn't, actually lost the money. But whatever the reason, the movie lost money and Disney got cold feet, and they decided to pull the plug on the Obi-Wan movie. And in hindsight, I think that was having seen the series now, I think that was a terrible mistake.
You're saying they should have gone to film.
It should have gone to film. This was clearly meant to be a 2-hour film. The writers were not up to the task to reworking this for a miniseries. There are many times where you're just, more or less bored by what's happening.
Yeah.
You're bored. The additions to the series that they added to make it more compelling don't work. They don't hold up. I don't care about the new characters that we were introduced to. Some of those new characters.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Do you think that new character, what is she like? The main new character. What's her name?
Reva the Inquisitor.
Yeah. Do you think they were in the original movie script, or do you think they were an addition for Solo the TV?
No, I think she was in the. If I had to guess, I think she was most likely a part of the original script. But I do think because they had to extend her role to stretch out this TV series, unfortunately, I think they stretched out a character that is poorly written. Man, you really don't care about her. You don't feel for her. You understand her motives, but they're not. You know what sucks. The story of Reva is actually a pretty good one. I'm gonna spoil her story for anybody who hasn't seen the show, so heads up. Reva's story is she was a youngling at the Jedi Temple who survived.
Oh, Jesus. Are you kidding?
She's a youngling at the Jedi Temple, and she survived Order 66, which I think is actually compelling. You know, like she witnessed every Jedi that she cared for, every Jedi mentor that she had, as well as her fellow younglings, just completely fucking slaughtered at the hands of stormtroopers and Anakin Skywalker. And then from there, in her rage, turns to the dark side, and in her hate decides that she's going to get revenge on the person who murdered her family, and in that, Darth Vader. So her plan is she is going to climb the ranks of the Inquisitors, become Vader's right hand, and when he least suspects it, just kill him in his sleep, whatever it takes. Stab him in the back, leave him for dead. Like, she is meant to be consumed by vengeance, right? And in her vengeance to wanting to avenge the death of her friends, it turns her into the very thing that killed her friends, right? So like there is something there. There's in there, I believe, with better writers, there's a compelling story. But that did not happen. That did not happen at all. She's very one note the entire time. She's just basically shouting and yelling. And again, there's a little bit, and I hate to say it because I sound like a broken record. There's a little bit of the Mary Sue thing happening again. She's really good at things. She doesn't really have not a lot of obstacles to overcome. And then, spoiler alert, at the very end, she turns to the light side, because of course she does. And it's not even like she doesn't get it's not Obi-Wan that helps her turn to the light side. She does on her own. So Eric, unlike Vader, who needed to see his master die and his son, get succumbed to almost nearly being killed by the Emperor in order to pull him out of the darkness and become Anakin again. Not Reva, Eric. Reva, she don't need help from no man. Reva turns to the light side all on her own.
Really?
Yeah. It's fucking dumb. Again, more piss poor writing, more bland character development, more Mary Sueing, and yeah, just again, they took something that could have been compelling. I.e. John Boyega. Here we have a stormtrooper who's kind of woken up and decided that they don't want to be a storm. Like, what does that look like? These faceless these faceless stormtroopers that have been gunned down haphazardly since the very beginning. Like, who is under the mask? Oh, and what if the person under the mask turns out to be a Jedi? Right? I mean, like, that's fucking compelling. That's a fucking premise.
That was supposed to happen?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
A stormtrooper turned Jedi. Right? Woof. Right? Again, that one sentence alone. Hey. Now, yeah, where are we going with this? And like I said, or even earlier, right? A youngling who turns to the dark side and looking to kill Vader after what happened during Order 66. Not as compelling as the first plot, but an interesting premise at the very least. Two interesting premises completely fucking shitting the bed due to garbage writing, executive oversight. Whatever it is, just botched. Just completely fucking botched. Yeah. Yes. That's where we're at, baby. That's where we're at. So, no, I cannot recommend Obi-Wan to anyone. Minus save those handful of scenes. In which case I would say just watch them on YouTube. There's a couple scenes I could point you to that you should just watch online. And that's it. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Let me catch up with the chat. I've kind of ignored the chat as I've been ranting. As I've been ranting, somebody says, Jesus is the Son of God who created all things. He is the true God that came unto flesh, dying for our sins. We must repent before his hour. Sure. The best part of Obi-Wan series is the acting. They did a good job. The story is shite. Oh, that's the other thing. I do have to, I do have to include this in my review.
Yeah.
The actress of Reva, I did say she's one note. I did say she's poorly written. They give her about 2 scenes in the whole series, and she's about 40% of the show, so that really is saying something. 2 scenes only throughout the entire series where she's actually able to act more than just a character who's just perpetually angry. And she knocks it out of the fucking park. Again, 2 scenes. She crushes it. The woman can actually act. And it's at that point where you realize, oh, well, fuck. They didn't just fuck us as viewers. They fucked her as an actress. Because you're like, oh, she is capable. It is very much, actually, in one sense, that is very similar to the prequels and George Lucas's piss poor dialogue that made you think that Hayden Christensen couldn't act. Very similar in that regards, because the actress who plays Reva is quite talented when actually given something worth her fucking time. 0888 says, I want to ask you something art-wise, unless you're not in the mood for it. That's fine. No. What's up, Steady? You made a comment maybe a year or more back about people who only do studies of other work, that the people who only do that won't create new material and not really progress as an artist. Let me see if
somebody remembers something you said a year ago. Holy shit!
I can't even remember a thing I said a year ago. I wonder. I'm trying to place that with how I feel about that sentiment now. A year, people who only do studies of other people's work, and the people who only do that won't create new material and not really progress as an artist. I think the sentiment still holds true in that if you, as an artist, stick exclusively to reference without analyzing the reference that you're using, I think you will kind of pigeonhole yourself. Because reference is great, photos are great, studying them is not just good and great, platitudes, fucking necessity. They are necessary. You need to observe to learn. You need to observe anatomy, lighting, perspective, and this is both in reality and art, in order to gain that kind of database internally as to what it looks like, in order for you to appropriately recreate those things on the page, on your page. So I will say, yes, if you are not being analytical of your references, if you are just blindly copying them, now again, there are many painters, digitally and otherwise, who exclusively use reference, but that's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about new artists who I think it's kind of like you kind of got to leap out of the nest, friend. I'm not saying you shouldn't use reference. By all means, please.
Sounds like that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Please use a reference, but just know that as you reference things, there may be flaws, because if you're copying it blindly, you're not only copying the things that are done right, you're also copying the things that are done wrong, and you won't be able to tell because you're relying so heavily on those references. Practicing is all fine and good, but the better practice is deliberate practice. All right, let me finish. Let me see where he goes with this. I agree with that, because you can't get better if you only copy. But I haven't done art in so long that a few studies to get back to what's familiar I find helpful, just not as a permanent thing. Are you okay with something like that to help and learn a new style? That's my question. All right, there's a bunch to unpack there, and Eric, feel free to chime in. I'd love to hear your point of view.
I'm just sitting here. I love hearing you talk.
Feel free to disagree with me if I've said anything out of school. I am by no means anywhere close to the level that you are, but this is just my experience.
I love it. I love listening to it.
I haven't done art in so long that a few studies to get back. Listen, if you're rusty and you find it easier to engage with your art with the help of reference, by all means. But like I said moments ago, just all I ask is that as you use reference, be cognizant. Don't just copy. Look at, I would say don't even get one reference, get several references. Compare, contrast. Something that I used to do early on when I was learning anatomy, and I think this is one of the best things you can possibly do, is find a few references, practice, copy, see what works, see what doesn't, and then take those references and put them aside. Close your window, look somewhere else, grab a new piece of paper, start fresh, and now try to recreate those references from your head. And then once you have that, compare and contrast your own work. What'd you do right? What'd you do wrong? What could you change? Where are your weaknesses? Where are your strengths? That's what I would do, especially if I hadn't drawn in a while. I think that's, going back to one's roots. That's something that deliberate practice is so important. It's so important to study and critique and be critical of your own work. Analyze your own stuff. There was another part to this. Are you okay with something like that to help or learn the second part of this. Are you okay with something like that to help or learn a new style? That is my question. Actually, I watched a video from a fellow artist recently about style and stylization. And I'm paraphrasing here. And at one point in this video, the artist says, I'm going to be honest with you, friend. Style doesn't fucking matter. It's overrated, doesn't fucking matter. I'm paraphrasing. They didn't say it exactly like that. The artist was Jonathan Amore. Mr. John Amore. I was watching his YouTube video. And it's even titled something along the lines of style. Let me see if I could find John Amore. Let me see if I could find John Amore's YouTube video so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And my take on stylization has always been style is a byproduct of your work. It's not style isn't a goal that you should have. Style is something that you attain by achieving your other art goals. At least that's how it's been for me. Let me see. Hey, Bernard Chang. In art school, one of the first freshman year assignments is called Masterpieces, where students must replicate works by Michelangelo, Da Vinci, etc. That's cool. And after they've done that, I'm assuming you break down what they did, why they did it. I would guess. I've never been to art school. I'm just assuming. Here we go. All right, here.
Dude.
I'm pulling up. Wait, what? Did you see my screen?
No, why?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
No, you said I could have sworn you said you just passed it.
Oh yeah, no. I said what happens is that you were so I was joking around with the Bernard Chang thing where he's like, in school you have to do the master studies, right?
Yeah.
And then you say, well, what happens next? What's after the master studies? They just pass you. They just give you get out of here. You got it. You nailed it. Well done.
Okay. Oh man, that was so funny. Because I was scrolling through my subscriptions and I scrolled past John Amore as you said that.
Oh, yeah.
I scrolled right past John Amore's channel And it sounded like you said, "Oh, you passed it, dude." I'm like, "Oh, you're right." And then I'm like, "Wait a second." I was like, "Wait, what? What the fuck?" Here we go. Bernard says, "Too many young amateur artists are fixated on style in quotation marks, but it is too often mistaken for skill set." Excellently put, Bernard. Here, let me Here, this is the
Where I
video.
stand on that. What would he what would, as a person who actually went to a proper art school, what is the, if there is a focus that is not style, what would be the better focus?
Yeah. Oh, so this is John Amore's video. And you know, by the way, guys, John Amore, he's got 300 YouTube subscribers. His second video posted 8 days ago, 1,300 views, which is, I think, excellent for a brand new channel. But no, I would suggest 0. I would suggest doing yourself, taking 6 minutes out of your day and watching John Amore's video. I posted his link in the chat. The thumbnail reads "Style does not matter," and the title is "The Unimportance of Style." And yeah, I'd love to hear Bernie's point on it. Eric, I'd love to hear your take on stylization in art.
Everything is style to me. You gotta be stylistic. You gotta find your own style, or else you're not worth anything.
Oh boy. Yep, you nailed it. I have my own style. Some like it, some don't. It's not really anything you might recognize. I'll have to find a way to take a picture. My last one I did was back in 2011. Yeah, like I said, you already heard my take on style. I think style is something you attain after all of it, after the countless hours of learning how a human body looks and works and all that good stuff. And then after you've tried on almost like a piece of pant, like a pair of pants rather, trying on different art styles. Because I don't know about you guys, but early on when I was first learning how to doodle, I definitely tried to assimilate other artistic choices that creators.
You style it up too much, Mike.
No, but I would take creators whose work I admired. Maybe it was a Greg Capullo at the time, or who knows, and attempt to well why did Greg make this choice? Why does he draw mouths like that? John Romita Jr. Right? All those lines. It's so many lines. Oh, they're so uniform. I wonder why he did that. Let me try that a little bit. See, and I put it on just to see how that might fit my own work. Bernard says, focus should be on fundamentals, anatomy, perspective, composition, storytelling from a solid foundation. You can draw in any way or quote style you want.
Why do you think style is so important to people, that they find it? Why do they seem, it feels like they're prioritizing that more than they are to what Bernie's talking about, which is, prioritizing foundational understanding, right? Like,
I think Bernie touched on it when he said, too many young amateur artists are fixated on style, but that is often masked, or I would say mistaken for a skill set. So I think when you see a artist who has achieved much, they've got the foundations down. They're long past that. At this point, they're probably working on stuff that you won't have to, as a young artist, consider for many years down the road, the stuff that they're working on. So I think when they see that, they think, oh my God, would you look at the way this person is painting that or drawing that? Wow, that's unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's the I actually can't even think of an appropriate analogy. It's something about a beautiful style it really can be quite captivating from the viewpoint of somebody who loves art. You see someone's especially a style that stands out, especially a style that looks like something you haven't seen before. You look at that person's style and you think, my goodness, this is a really unique voice. This is a really unique point of view. There really is something remarkable to that, but I think there is that confusion. You see this person's stylization. Maybe it's Mike Mignola that you see, or maybe it's Loesch, that famous digital artist. You see that and you think, I want to draw like them. I want to have a style like that. But you're looking at somebody at the finish line. You know, you're seeing somebody who's, not only have they worked on the fundamentals and got them down pat, they have drawn the same thing so many times that they have created a shorthand for it that appears as stylization. You have to make that journey too. You have to find your own way.
Is this you? Is it Bernie?
Yeah. Bernie says, "Easy way out." What's up?
Easy way out.
What's up, Mao? Mao, I have no idea how to say your name. I'm sorry. Hello.
But hello. Thank you for being here.
And hello, Art to Escape. Welcome. Don't mind me. We're just drawing. I got my camera off, but I could turn it on to say hi. Let's see if it's on and it'll work. Beep bop boop bop beep boop bop bop. Here we go. Hello, here I am. Hello, welcome back to my new friend. I got all of my crazy lights are off, so you're not getting like a beautifully well lit Michael Di Nicola. You're getting a low lit gargoyle Michael Di Nicola.
He's got a secret to keep.
Secrets I have.
It's gross. Don't do that.
All right, back to me hiding. Back to me going in my hidey hole. Bye, everybody.
All right. What did that answer the style question? Because I really hope that's helpful.
I hope it's helpful. I would say I'm going to just reiterate what I said, which is again basically what Bernie said, or what Eric said. I think we all are basically
didn't say anything.
You said it. You said more than enough.
I don't back these claims at all. You guys are talking crazy.
Don't listen to him. His mouth is saying no, but his body. Bernie says.
He's also saying no.
His body's also saying N-O. People want to replicate his style, like in basketball. People watch Steph Curry and want to shoot threes like him, even copy his form. But they leave out all the court vision, passing, dribbling, defense, all the other skill sets that will get them to a professional level. I think Bernard hit it right on the head. I mean, I'm not a big hoops guy, Eric, but I believe I think the analogy works across the board. You name it. Music, maybe you're a drummer and you're looking at the guy from Rush, whose name escapes me. Maybe you're looking at John Bonham. Maybe you're looking at Dave Grohl, and you're hearing and you're seeing the stylization. And you're listening to what these guys are doing. But meanwhile, you can't hold a beat. You can barely hold a drumstick. It's the same thing, man. All of these, at least in my life thus far, I have yet to meet a creator who makes masterful creations, who hasn't learned the fundamentals. I don't know if that person exists. If they do, I have not met them. So I'm just going to reiterate and say that stylization is not the destination. It is something that you achieve in pursuit of your loftier artistic goals. Hey, Bernie, Bernie, I've got a question, man. Why do you think people put such a weight on stylization?
That was my question. What the?
Yeah. No, I'm pretending like.
Don't repurpose. Don't repurpose.
I'm pretending like I thought on that by myself.
You're like a re-questioner. You're like a re-gifter, but with questions.
That's the first time anybody's heard that question this evening. No, maybe.
Hey, Bernie, that was my question, dude. Don't give that one to Mike. Answer it. Say, oh, Eric, that's a great question.
Maybe it's the individuals, maybe it's like the individualization of it, like the individuality of stylization.
What do you mean?
So a person, their style, it's so personal. It's so unique to them. It's like, it's one of the most artistic, as far as like the ethereal aspect of art, the magical hippy-dippy part of art, which I know you're not a fan of, Kinetic, but like when you're thinking of, when you think of,
subscribe to Hippy Dippy magazine.
Yeah, when you're thinking about that side of art, right? Where does creativity come from? What is that end of it, the mythical part of it. A part of a person's style is, it's their signature, it's their essence, their artistic essence. Like I said, if you want to get weird with it, it's the little piece of them.
Conversation.
it's you know, like you are seeing their world. You like, again, you take Bob Ross, you take your favorite artists, you have them paint a landscape. The same landscape is going to be replicated an endless amount of times, and each one of those is going to reflect the individual themselves, how they see, because no two people see the world identically, no two artists rather. So they're going to replicate it through them. They're like a fucking coffee filter, but that's your artistic soul that you're siphoning those beans through, Eric. The beans of life.
And this analogy is off the fucking rails right now, man.
We gotta first. All right, first take your edibles, gang, before you come with me on this journey. No, but like I said, stylization is super. It's a piece of you that you're putting out there. It's so unique to you. It's beautiful, and I think maybe it's the allure of that. It's not just the mastery and professionalism that so many artistic styles. Have, but it's also that beautiful, like, wow, this is really her or him, just echoed in their work. There's something special to it, man. There's something kind of transcendent about it. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're just a bunch of hippy dippy freaks. Or maybe I'm just completely talking out of my fucking ass because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll never know.
I can't say it. I don't know, man. I don't have, why is style so important? I'm going to guess it's different for different people, but there might be a core general one, right? Not to say it captures everything, but in the most general, widest brush possible, there must be some through line there. I don't know what it is. I don't have a good answer. Pure narcissism, I would say.
Eric,
you want to be recognized.
Oh, what was that?
I said you want to be recognized, so you develop the style that.
Well, maybe that's it too. I didn't even think about that. The recognition, right? Because that does, if you're looking at like a Jim Lee piece, a Capullo piece, an Ashley Wood piece. I mean, Kim Jong-gi, baby, you take one glance, you pick them out of lineup like that. Mike Mignola piece, boom, from a mile off who did that. So you're also right. There's notoriety to it. Eric has a distinct style, but he has the skill set and vision to draw in his ultra dynamic way, which is part of his standout style.
Combo.
Art to Escape says, what does a self-taught based off feelings what feels right? Could Google to be better artists? Basically, what would you suggest as a starting point in research aside from color theory? I think you gotta whittle it down. Personally.
Big question. It's a big question.
That's because, you know, how do I get good at art? It's just kind of this catch-all.
That's what that question is, right?
Yeah. And that's a, you know, endless. That's a sea of answers.
An answer C.
Yeah.
I'm not helpful.
Style is nice to know so you know how to market it if something you want to do full time. I suppose that's true too. Style, you know, your style can be very marketable. Some styles, I would argue that some styles are absolutely more marketable than others. Hands down. What's up, Nobi?
You know, the majority of the people just walked in your chat right now.
Do I?
They hung up before.
You know, I haven't seen them in a while, and I think it's because I think it's got to do with my time. I'm on. You know, this is a weird hour for me.
Right?
What's up?
Nice.
This
kind of nice.
This is relaxing. This is chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I could get used to this. What's going on with you, Nobi? Hey, Bernard, what TV shows you watching these days? I wonder if Bernard watches Umbrella Academy or Obi-Wan or The Boys or any of that stuff. Dude, Eric, did I tell you I joined a bunch of Facebook groups all about plants?
Oh, but I'm not surprised. It's like, no kidding. I mean, it's something that you're into, right?
It is.
Why not? Right?
Yeah, because, listen.
I mean, the only part that I disapprove of, not the fact that you're joining a group, but you're just joining a Facebook group.
Yeah, you know what? I also joined a couple of Reddit groups too, Eric, which isn't much better. If in many ways, it's probably worse. Oh, Bernie says, I just got done with The Outlaws on Amazon and The Boys. Oh man, Bernie, are you caught up on The Boys? Did you watch Hero
Which
Gasm?
The Outlaws.
I've never heard of Outlaws. I never heard of Outlaws. Is that a cowboy thing? I hope Bernie's watching cowboy stuff, just because I can't see that happening. But I'm down for it. I'm cowboy.
You can't picture Bernie watching cowboys.
No, him putting on a southern accent with a drawl, wearing a cowboy hat.
I don't think you have to do any of those to watch the show. You know what I mean? Like that's not a prerequisite to watch a cowboy show. I don't think he should cosplay of the thing that he's watching. I think he can just sit there and relax and watch it.
That's unfortunate.
In as much as when he in a basketball game, I don't think he gears up. You know what I mean? I don't think he.
Oh, I think he does.
Puts on the knee pads and the jersey.
He puts a jersey on.
He puts on his ballin' shoes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What I'm saying is that I don't think it's a prerequisite, Mike. I don't think when he's watching like The Hobbit or you know what I mean, like Willow, he goes in there Warwick Davis style and
he speaks. He does a good Warwick Davis impersonation when he's watching The Hobbit. Oh God, what's Val Kilmer's name in that again? Madigan?
Mad Mardigan.
Mad Mardigan.
That's awesome.
Did you watch Top Gun?
Do you have any plans on watching the new one?
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I just hope they don't fuck it up. Yeah, did you watch the new Top Gun?
No, I'm trying to convince my father-in-law because he's He's big on that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude.
And I hear that it's so good that I think it's worth.
Dude,
me and
yes.
him going to watch it in an afternoon.
I watched it. I watched it with my dad, who's now in his early 70s. But 40 years ago, when he was, closer to my age now, Top Gun was one of his favorites. He was a big. My dad. I remember my dad was big into aircrafts. Like he could spot out. Even in the movie, they had a couple of, like propeller planes, and my dad's like, "Oh, that's a such and such. That's a whatever." I'm like, I didn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But he would talk about all kinds of aircraft back in the day. And I said this on stream before. When I was watching Top Gun with my old man, I 100% saw him like kind of fist pump the air during the movie. Like he was really fucking into it. And again, dude, my dad is not emotive like that. Like that's the
He's
most.
not the fist pumping. He's not the fist pumping kind.
No.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've only seen that man shed a tear twice in my lifetime. And they weren't like he wasn't bawling, just a couple of man tears. The guy's a rock, but so it was great. It was great seeing him get pumped like that for a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a scene. There was this. I'm not spoiling it for anybody, but there was a scene in the most recent Batman movie with the Twinkle Vampire in it, and it was right after the car chase scene between Penguin and when you get to see the Batmobile for the first time with a giant turbo,
yeah,
whatever the engine in the back, right?
Oh yeah.
And near the end, the climactic end of that is the Penguin's car is tipped over or has rolled over. And he takes a look out his window as he's like, what feels like he's like concussed, and upside down, Batman comes walking through the flames, right?
Oh yeah.
And what my father, I wasn't paying attention to. I was just like, look at how this is really. There's so much energy in this thing, but it's so hard for me to follow what the heck is happening,
Yeah.
But the imagery more than made up for it, like the experience, the visceralness of all of it was like, oh, I feel that,
Oh yeah.
But tracking it, I was like, that's a little bit difficult for me. But anyway, as I kind of got over myself to be like, okay, what's the scene about? I kind of re-registered. My father-in-law leans over and goes like, now that was badass. And I've never heard.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's fucking. Oh, I love that. I mean, he's right. That was one of the. I think that was one of the most cinematic, excellent depictions of Batman on film. I would put that up with just about any iconic Batman scene you could think of.
Talking Adam West running around with like a bomb, right?
Yeah, yeah, the giant cartoony bomb. Yes, I would put it up there with that.
Big Warner Brothers bomb. I think that, and then this scene, right? And then that Batman scene.
Yeah, yeah, Batman. Yeah, that and the Joker v Batman Nolan scene. Yeah, no, I think it's one of the greatest quick cinematic encapsulations of the character. It's at that point you see Batman the way he envisions himself to be seen by criminality. The Batman post that car scene, it seems like he's indestructible, seems like he's more than life. He is like an unstoppable force. As he emerges through the flames, it's both awe-inspiring and terrifying at the same time. He's the boogeyman. That's excellent. And like I said, the cinematography of that scene, the direction, the fact that he's upside down and you see Batman emerge from the flames upside down.
Pretty cool. Again, my father-in-law, rare is he ever sort of that excitable for him to turn and be like, oh, that was badass. Oh, you like that? Cool.
Yeah, great. That's great. And by the way, that's what a fucking movie should be. When you're watching a movie, you should think that was fucking badass. Or like my old man, that fuck yes. It should make you want to pump your fist in the air. That's it, man. Eric, that you often ask me, how I'm still interested in movies, or why my affinity and love for cinema, and it's that in a nutshell. And I think that even lends to why I'm so forgiving of so many bad and poorly written movies. Hey, what's up, Big Smoke? Why I'm so forgiving of even poorly written movies is because sometimes the spectacle of it delights me to no end. Even in regards to Obi-Wan, which I know isn't technically a movie, isn't technically cinema, although it is quite cinematic, and it's got beautiful cinematography. The scenes in Obi-Wan that do make you emote, that elicit emotion due to the excellence of the character development and the writing. Man, they're really something else. Bernard Chang says, Outlaws is like a British dark comedy. Oh, I didn't know you were into dark British comedy, Bernard Chang. Bernard Chang says, I wear my old jockstrap when I watch sports games.
That's it, though. Right? It's just like both cheeks on the couch, jockstrap.
Yeah. You got to dress up as a hobbit to watch Willow, to be fair. Oof. How dare you. A new Top Gun was everything I expected it to be and entertaining AF. Art2Escape says, okay, let me narrow this down. How the hell do you do hands well? Well, you're asking the wrong dude. I barely get hands right at all. And Big Smoke, no. I barely get hands right at all. So more often than not, if I'm stumped, I just use my own hand as reference. So like this fist that I drew underneath, I basically just made my hand like a fist and looked at it facing myself. And that's what I did. You know what? You know what, here, man. Just once you draw your 1,000th hand, it'll start to get easier. Right, Eric?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I've never been able to. Well, man.
Just look down at your own hands. Yeah, no, Bernard, that's exactly what I said. You know what it is, man? You gotta memorize. Once you memorize the general shapes of the hand. Now, I understand why people have issues, because hands are fucking weird, dude. Nope, Big Smoke, nope, I haven't. Hands, they're so, like, here, just look at my own hand, so it's like, okay, well, this is easy enough, right? This makes sense. And you're like, okay, all right, well, that gets a little weird. That's weird to draw, but okay. And then it just gets, but then, like, being able to draw this at all angles is a pain, because then you have to, learn to draw it from every angle is a pain in the butt, and then something like this, and then just the hand at rest, and that way, and then again, foreshortening drawing a hand with foreshortening. Really, it takes some time, right? Because again, and the thing that we're looking at right now, it's all the same thing, but man, drawing from learning how to draw this to learning how to draw this and having it all be the same thing, it's I understand why people get annoyed. I understand why people are like, come the fuck on. Why am I meant to learn how to do this? Because it's like I said, it's a lot. But I promise you, once you've learned the mechanics of it in generalities, once you learn the mechanics of it, it'll get easier. It helps to, for me at the very least, it helps to visualize it mentally in 3 dimensions, because even with all the wacky ways that you could shape your own hand or shape hands in general, I've found that for the most part you're not really doing those the most of the time. There's Canetti, right? many go? do you find that you stick to, you know, a certain handful? Like, do you have a go-to stable of hand poses that you use?
I got a app.
No, you don't. No, you
I
fucking
shit
don't.
you not. I swear.
Really?
I can recommend one.
Yeah. No, please.
Don't get the one that's for handymen, but it's called Handy, because there's another one called. It's the same name, but one like is a handyman app where you can look up local handyman for your But there's an app called Handy where it just shows hands.
Chat, guys, look at my phone right now. For top folder from the left, first page. Here's the app. It's literally called Handy, an art reference tool. I think it costs like $1 or $2, at least it did.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it saved my butt. It saved my butt a few times. But Eric, I found myself in the head section a bunch of times. And for lighting.
Sure.
So I would recommend this app as well. This is a great trick. So here I'll show you.
It doesn't have everything, keep in mind, right? It doesn't have like, it doesn't account for every hand pose that you can have, but it is a jumping off point, like understanding, like, and you don't even have to use the exact pose. You can use sections of it. And as far as like, that's how fingers lay, what if you would like have, there's just one in specific I'm looking at right now, which is like a hand that's sort of doing a stop, you know what I mean? Like a hold it right there kind of pose.
Yes.
But if you look at it from a different angle, it could be that hand is sort of laying flat on a couch or something, like on a flat surface, right? So it's using it as a pivot point if you were to so relax. Now, what this doesn't account for, because again, this works in very broad generality, what this doesn't account for is the way the hand, the characteristics, when you give it a personality. This is very basic. This is very sort of just like as rudimentary. It helps you understand how the knuckles line up and how the fingers line up. What it doesn't have is personality, and for that, I often the movie that I steal from a lot is 101 Dalmatians, because that style is what I really I love that style.
Oh man!
So that thing has a book between that and the King Arthur one, which is it King Arthur?
I thought no,
the Disney.
It's oh god, it's not called King Arthur, but it is King Arthur.
It is, right?
That one artist, the primary artist who worked on that, I think he did 101 Dalmatians. He did the Sword in the Stone.
Sword in the Stone, that's it. Yeah.
And then he also did
that movie. I steal from like almost.
He did all
as
the
far
backgrounds.
As hand personality is concerned. Yeah.
Scooby-Doo backgrounds. All those beautifully painted Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo backgrounds were done by the same artists. It's really cool. I forget his name. I wish I remembered his name. So between this and sort of like having that in the library in my head, because again, this doesn't give it any personality at all. This is just super basic, Oh yeah.
That saved me a handful of times. But then, like you said earlier, once you start having a sort of a mental library of hand poses, it becomes a thing that you go to,
Yeah. Drag.
Why did you not use like hand?
Wait, what? Say that again?
I said, why? When I was saying like I have an app, and you're like, no, you do not.
I thought you were joking. Only because in my head I figured, you'd drawn a hand so many times, you had attained the exclusive, the Kim Jong-ji.
Yeah, I know. That's flattering, but it never, even if I did, it never hurts to just kind of go and refresh.
No, again, not at all. Because something that Eric taught me a while ago is that just the way you could learn new tricks, you can unlearn old tricks, which is fucking depressing. I remember one time Eric was looking at some of his old stuff, and he was and you were, I don't know if you remember, you were surprised by old you. You were like, you were looking at it from, I guess, a certain amount of time had passing. You were looking at this old stuff you'd done, and you thought, I'm imagining you thought, because you said, wow, I'm doing stuff here. I'm doing stuff here that I hadn't done. Or I guess either you forgot you used to do, or you just wasn't. But I think old you seemed to do stuff that modern you not necessarily forgot, but something that you didn't utilize. You don't utilize anymore. And you seem to kind of lament that at the time.
I think what do you call it? There's things that you sort of just like, you phase out or you sunset out. You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, I don't do that anymore because it would look because everything is in context to each other, right?
Yeah.
So if you if you grow a specific rendering style, let's say, right, and you maintain an old construction, you put the rendering style on top of it, it doesn't quite work, right?
Yeah.
So you have to come up with a brand new foundational or like a foundational premise, so that the rendering that sits on top of it makes a lot of sense. It's almost like, can you imagine a Sean Galloway, right? Super cartoonish, right?
Oh yeah.
A really super simple approach to everything, heavy on gesture, heavy on proportion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then putting a Kevin Nolan on top of it. It doesn't.
Oh boy.
It wouldn't work. It's not the best sort of like handshake between proportion and style to like final execution.
Right. No, they're not really compatible. Those two things.
Yeah. Yeah. So same thing, right? Like as I evolve as a draftsman, there's things that I try now proportionally. There's things that I try now as the underdrawing or construction, that when you lay the rendering on top of it, you're like, okay, I need to mature one or the other or both. So when I look back at my old work, because I was opting for a more renderish, how would you say it? Like that's my storyboarding days. So I was doing a more renderish Batman the Animated, Bruce, inspired by Bruce Timm, of like straight versus curves and really going for heavy-duty gestural stuff, right?
Yes.
Still not leaning too hard on the proportions, right? Like which I do now. So there was a lot of things I could get away with back then by way of rendering that I don't think works now, because some of the figure work is a little bit more sophisticated than straight versus curve, right?
Yes. You've you're rendering, you do take the time now that you didn't before to render it. I don't want to say it's more realistic, but it's less gestural now, your style.
I genuinely, if I was lamenting over anything, it's the idea that I'm doing so much more work now. Like, it's annoying. I think it's annoying to work this much, and oftentimes I am unclear on whether or not it's bringing a value to the work outside of just like rendering. Does that make sense? Like, I want to take, if I'm going to put that much work and sit behind a desk for this long, or at least, sit at an iPad this long, I want to know that the effort that I'm putting in is actually helping to lead to sort of like a better drawing, and I'm not convinced whether or not I've accomplished that.
That's a really well put. Bernard says, "Amen, Eric." The
thing is, I can't go back. Like
right.
The stuff that I used to do back then felt really well, maybe that's probably untrue. It's not that I can't go back. It might be worth an exercise just to try, like do a small little comic or something and do that look to everything. But I would have to relearn everything from back then all over again, What feels quite natural now, or what felt quite natural back then would probably be
unnatural.
Like, what is this? Why did I do this? Like,
right.
What did this mean to me then that I don't quite understand how it would, like, what is this communicating? Because I think that, if I am in any sort of like mindfulness about anything now, it's like, when I put a line down on something, like what am I trying to communicate? What is that line about?
I think
So back then, I was more trying to communicate action and sort of like motion, right? Right.
yes.
And I still do that now, but I think that's where the maturation process kicked in, which is, oh, I'm doing a lot more of this now because I really want you to understand that volume and that form, as opposed to just, oh, here's a basic figure, you know?
I think you jogged my memory. I think I remember
Mm.
you were not lamenting. Maybe that was the wrong word to use. But you were kind of remembering how, I don't want to say reckless, old Eric was in his art, but you did have something of a reckless abandon in your work.
Yeah, dude. But that's awesome. You know, like
Yeah.
that fucking guy that didn't give a shit. He would just like draw
Yeah.
and not be overly precious about anything. Not be like, okay, I understand what that plane is. I understand that, you know, here, like right now I'm looking at a panel and the bottom parts of the figure, I think from the mid thigh on down, I'm like rendering almost into shadow, right? And it's because it helps it helps ground them in the shot, right? So it makes them feel heavier and they're not just kind of like paper cutouts that's standing on a background, let's say.
Right.
But that's the kind of shit you were considered back in like Iron Man / whenever it was that I was doing that style, right?
No, not at all.
And I almost feel like there's something more appealing about that because it's like that kid did not care.
No.
He was just drawing, you know?
Oh yeah.
And I love the idea behind that. Just to just draw and not overthink.
Oh, SL Bell says, I went to see how much Handy is. It's $2.99. Too bad I don't have no money to do a lot of male superhero and female. I could use more hand and feet art.
You take a look at the most recent set of pages I've been sending you for Arcathena 6, right? Like that, if you were to put that up against a huge battle scene in Iron Man,
yeah,
that's no contest. You know, there's like there's a level of sophistication that's happening now that's not happening back then. But I don't know if the sophistication is for the better.
If it's paying
just
off.
Yeah.
If it's just sophistication for sophistication's sake. I mean, Kennedy, I don't think you're ever going to answer that. Like, you just posed an unanswerable question. I feel, because that question comes down to it's a very subjective answer, and it's kind of, it's in the eye of the, you know. To me, I would say absolutely. I mean, and clearly, I think you'd agree. For the most part, but I don't know. You know,
yeah.
I'd say.
Well, I mean, what I like doing, especially after I kind of, now that I'm getting closer and closer to the other end of this tunnel, what I like is just like reflecting and doing a post-mortem, you know?
Of course.
Like going through it and just like paying attention to like, was I doing that because there was an intent, or was I doing that because I was trying to finish a page? Both are legitimate. But if there is a way to learn from the one that has intent, then obviously you want to carry that over to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because what I'm looking at now, in contrast to back then, right, is dramatic in differences. But I almost want to go back and just take a look at the most recent thing, which is that thing that I did for Mark Millar, and be like, how? I mean, that's not too long ago, you know. So you go like, okay, so where were the learnings from that I ported over here outside of the full-on digital pre-production, you know? What am I drawing now that I wasn't drawing back then that I think is sort of like an upgrade, you know, these little things. And it's like, you ever hear that old adage that people who start working out at the beginning part of their workout journey, they're the ones that's going to see the most sort of like dramatic results, because those are you're going to be able to lift more for whatever reason, and then everything starts slowing down the further into your journey you go, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So similar to that, not identical, but similar to that, when you're drawing, you're not going to make any sort of like wholesale gains, right? It's going to be in the little things where you go like, oh, I used to do that or not do that, and now that comes very natural and comfortable to me, right?
No, now I kind of want to look at your Chrononauts work and see what you're doing back then.
Right? After.
Yeah,
in
after.
About 2 more months when I'm all done drawing this stupid thing. Like there's a dry brush here that I would never, I didn't use on at least I don't remember. And there's a rake brush here that I know by way of effect. I know what I'm doing with it.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm like, did I ever do that? Kind of like dirty-ish, rendering-ish, you know, effect. I don't know. But I'm going to endeavor to find out. I think that one thing that I've recognized, maybe not for this entire miniseries, but definitely on this last issue, there is a level of clarity that I am not accomplishing, which I'm a huge proponent of, and yet I be okay with it because I'm cycling through I cycle through the pages like maybe every other week or so, just to see how far along, how much I have left, right, and how far, what the kind of like, for instance, I'll have to go back and be like, oh shoot, I did that little scratch on the armor that's really super important for later, you know what I mean, like as far as continuity's sake, right?
Yeah.
But then I'll cycle through pages and I'm like, oh, some of these is just on first blush, it's just illegible. And that would be a big sin to me back in the day. Like, you know, make it as almost as boring as possible so that it reads better.
Right.
And yet with this, because it's the last issue, because there's so much happening, I almost am comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not, it's forgivable, but certainly I'm more comfortable with it than if this was just like the first 2 issues or whatever, you know?
Right. I mean, well, yeah, your go-to was clarity is king.
Yep.
And I think that's still it's a great mindset. But again, in art, in life, there are exceptions to every rule. And I think
there are opportunities to break it for sure. It's just, you know, I'd better find a way to, as crazy, because again, the issue facilitates it. The action that's happening in the issue is helping to facilitate it. But I'd better go find a way to like go back moving forward, there should be pages where it's just like, don't be this stupid with a lack of clarity. Go back and re-register again, you know?
Right. Thank you, Pedro.
It's a pumpkin now.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna let this be a short stream. I think this is I think this is a nice little session, hanging out. I got to do it a little bit. Hopefully everybody out there got to do it a little bit. I got some more work to do on this piece, but I like where it's going. Looking at the past drawings, I sometimes learn new things, or they end up jogging my memory. Again, if anything, what we've learned today is it pays to be analytical of your work. Your work now, your work then, your work as you practice, and as you learn. Pivotal. You know, yeah, let's end it at that.
Yeah, let's do
it. Great conversation, Eric. Thank you for hanging out. Bernard, thank you for hanging out too, buddy. Chat, you guys are awesome. I will see you tomorrow. And have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.